Shalom, family. So, welcome back to another Sound Sabbath class. Okay, welcome back. And for this late afternoon's lesson and early evening's lesson, we're going to be dealing with be not many masters. Okay, be not many masters. And just really get an understanding of what that means and why we should have that mindset. And a lot of it, stems from because you have many people who they desire to be a leader of some sort, you know, regardless of what title they choose to go by or others may refer to them as. Some may use the title of elder, representing one who is a leader, or some may use captain, some may use priest or high priest. We see oftentimes pastor, bishop, apostle, deacon, these things being used. And regardless of, which title, which I'm not necessarily going to break down, each different title per se, but we know that each one of these is a leader of some sort, right? Each one of these is a leader of some type of degree. And with that, it's not necessarily that it's a bad thing to aspire to be like one of that magnitude or even be in that office, but it's understanding both you as the individual and as the whole. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Just because you can put yourself in that place doesn't mean that you should be in that space. Doesn't mean that you're ready to be and operate in that particular field. And it's understanding that it's not about me, even then I'm not here to, as a focus. My number one focus is not to have people join your tab, follow your tab. That's not my number one focus. The number one focus is gathering people unto, the Most High through His Son of Mashiach Yahweh Shai. And we're just vessels. I'm just a vessel. I very well may plant the seed, but someone else will come along and water it. So, and that person may very well go, somewhere else. All praises, you know, and then you can have the reverse. Someone else may have planted the seed, and I may come along and water it. All praises. You have that, but we're just vessels. We're all supposed to be vessels or tools used by the Most High for righteousness. So, and it's not shouldn't be a competition or measuring stick or things that nature or ego or pride. That's not what it's about, So that's not what it's about at all. So, because at the end of the day, like the scripture says, many think he's anything, you got to know you're nothing. It's the Most High that makes you something or someone of relevance. So on the righteous tip, on the wicked tip, it's Satan, but you have your reward. But on the righteous level, it's all of the Most High. Some people, he said, it's like what man call major and minor prophets, right? Major prophet, you think Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Isaiah wrote a whole lot, right? But then minor prophets, you read who? Like Obadiah, Jonah, Micah. But it's how the Most High allocates. Hey, you're going to write a lot. Hey, you know what? I don't need you to write as much, But what you do write is going to be important, nevertheless. It's still going to be powerful. So you still have to remember that, okay? So, and even, with camp, just because you can start a camp doesn't mean you should. Doesn't mean now is time. Doesn't mean now you're ready. Doesn't mean that, or you may not even be apt in that particular, situation. But regardless, you understand lives are in your hands. And we're going to get a lot more into that. Let's get James chapter 3 and verse 1. Let's open up to the book of James. So I'm going to read the book of James. I'm going to read chapter 3 and verse 1. Book of James chapter 3 and verse 1. It says, "My brethren, be not many masters, knowing that we shall receive the greater condemnation." You have to understand that. You have to understand that in talking to it, like, look, my people, my brothers and sisters, understanding you have to be in a space. Do not put yourself, do not put your organization in a space where you have many people that are masters. And now, what does master mean? What is it saying? So let's get the Strong's Concordance definition of master as I provide here. Strong's number G1320, didaskalos. So, and it's a noun, masculine. From G1321, an instructor, generally or specifically, like doctor, master, teacher. So all of these various terms, but used to describe a type of leader, one who's putting themselves in some type of space where they're leading, and teaching according to the Bible. So that's what you're doing. But of course, you're not trying to be many in that regard, because one of the things you have to understand is you're held to a much higher standard once you enter that particular realm. So you're held to a higher standard. And not only just you, but you don't come alone. You bring your spouse, you bring your kids. They come with you. And the spotlight is on you in your life. And it's not necessarily a situation where everyone's trying to be in your business, but the reality is, as a leader, the key thing is you're paving the way. When people are trying to see how to model themselves, how to be, what should the standard be like in terms of righteousness performed, they should look to you. They should see how you operate. You're a man, how you operate as a father, husband. Those things are part, because that foundation is needed in order for you to rise into greater levels. Otherwise, you won't be successful as a deacon, as a bishop. You won't be able to be successful at higher levels, because your household is the foundation of your leadership. If your house is out of order, you're not going to have a lot of authority and respect as a leader, because people can look at you and say, dang, yeah, you can teach. Yeah, you may even have some wisdom. But all that starts getting poured down the drain if you see in one's private affairs, one's private life, things are all in disarray. Things are all in chaos. It waters down your whole message and everything else you're trying to build. You might as well have dumped poison in the batter or in the water, because that's what's happened. Now it's a toxic situation. And understanding that, yeah, as the root, remember, as a leader, you're supposed to lead by example. Many of us grew up hearing, don't do as I do as I say. But the Bible does not condone that. The Bible condemns that. The Bible teaches us, the Most High God teaches us to be as he is, move as he is. As men, we're supposed to follow Christ as Christ followed the Most High. So then as men, as we get in order, then our wives get in order with us. Our children get in order with us. That's the order. But how are you supposed to have that? And then if you don't have that, then are you supposed to lead a body? And lead others and have others follow you? It's not going to be successful. It's not going to work like that. So because everything is all out of order. Because now it's going to be, well, how are you going to tell me to do A, B, C, X, Y, Z when your kids aren't doing that? Your spouse isn't moving that way. So now you become a hypocrite. So now you take power away from your own voice. Now people aren't having the same level of receptiveness towards you, because they see you're full of doo-doo. You're full of it. You don't need that. So now, understanding, for those that are in these positions, you're always held to a higher standard. And it's, okay, another way to look at it is understanding that, let's take, for example, even in your workspace, let's just deal with something, simple, but common. something common, a common problem. Sexual harassment, you know, already off top, it could be negative for it to be in the work environment. But you can be that much more offended when it's coming from a supervisor or a manager, right? Why? Because they're in a greater position. They should know that much better, that much more. They should rise to the standard that much more. So, where it's not always necessary that, okay, I'm just offended the fact that it's in the workplace, but I'm even that much more offended in terms of who it's coming from. Some things are just that much more unbecoming of your position, unbecoming of even not only your position, but what you have shown or what you seem to portray as a person, as an individual. It's even that much more insulting, that much more of a problem. Let's get James chapter 3. And actually, let's read verse 1 again. I want to carry them. So, my brethren, be not many masters. Knowing, it says knowing, you are aware. That means you have to be learned enough to even have the information to be aware. You have to be learned enough to have the information. Else, if you don't know, you're not aware. And so you should even be dabbling in that realm until you understand this first, that we shall receive the greater condemnation. Like Scripture say, to whom much is given, much is required. The more that is given you, the more that is required of you. It's not optional. It's you have to rise to the occasion, rise to the challenge, and you have to overcome. So, because if you don't, there are more severe consequences. It's not the same. It's not just a slap on the wrist, because in the world, they can make it seem like that. And some things with leadership, some buddy, they sweep things under the rug and respect the persons. And no, not so. Not on the righteous tip. No, it's the opposite. You don't get the slap on the wrist. You get the double judgment, double whammy, because you're in a position where lives and souls are at risk. They're in your hands, and that's it can be for better or for worse. So Most High isn't playing in that regard. So now, verse 2 says, for in many things we offend all. Why does it say, for in many things we offend all? Because as a leader, it is much easier to offend, even if what I may have said or have done was not innately offensive. Listen to that. Keep that in mind. As a leader, it is much easier to offend, even if what it is I may have said or done is not necessarily offensive. And it may not necessarily even be a sin at all. Sometimes it's not a sin, but it wasn't done or executed with the level of wisdom the scriptures teaches us we should execute. Just wasn't done in wisdom. Or things just, hey, being mindful, these things are just unbecoming of your position or your tenure. So, or just how it is you carry yourself, or you've been seen. The scriptures speak about that, where a little folly can be had in great dishonor for someone who is known for moving and carrying themselves in much wisdom. It just take a little bit. So sometimes those things backfire. And have to understand, you can't let your hair down around everybody. That's just the reality. Because they're viewing things differently. So they're taking things in different. They're not always picking up what it is you're putting down and the way you placed it. So even certain jokes you can't make around certain people. You can't even say. Even remember, like when the Most High, certain things he told Moses, hey, these things you give to the common people. These things, just save and give unto the wise. So it's the same way. Certain things, I can deal with common people. And certain things, nope, refrain, just deal with, that close circle, lest I offend. And then oftentimes when people are offended, they won't come to you, they'll go to somebody else. Yeah, man, I was at Cap's house, and man, I seen he was, and I was like, man, what is that? And man, I don't know, you know. So there'll be some type of offense, Man, I was riding with Deacon, and Deacon, he was listening to some, he was talking about some, and that took me back, I'm like, dang, this Deacon, you have that. And those things, it will happen. It will always happen. And there'll always be somebody. But try not to let it be you. Try not to put yourself in those situations. You know. So you're gonna have that. And it's not necessarily that leaders go around just offending people left and right. No, that's not the goal, but anything you may say or do has the potential to offend, you know. Even if it wasn't intentional, but it could be something simple like I brother and sister called, brother or sister called me. I didn't answer. I missed the phone call. Or better yet, I may have answered and told, hey man, let me call you back. But I never called them back. I forgot. I got caught up in another affair, and it could have been something honestly that was very good. I could have, man, I need to finish this lesson, or man, I need to take care of this other business, or man, I'm trying to make sure I finish getting ready for the Sabbath, what so have you. And for that person, they're just taking you at your word, like, all right, let's see you call me back. And call me back. Don't let it be a couple of days. Definitely don't let it be a week. Oh man, many people can be hurt by that, offended, struck. Man, they still call me, never call me back. Man, left my voicemail. Man, I need help with this, and that can be enough to, cause someone to be significantly offended. And so just things off the rip, because some people, they can feel as if, hey, if I'm reaching out for a reason, and I'm looking for that help. And they may not understand that, okay, you're not the only person I have to focus on. And I still have to work as you work. I still have to, and some work more. They work overtime. Like my kid, hey, work overtime. So you have situations where, all right, I got that. Then we still have our own families and lives and things, and then we still need our own personal time. But we still have to be available for the needs of the people. And some conversation ain't necessarily just a 5-minute conversation. It could be easily a 50-minute conversation. Discussing things or even more to try to help someone through their particular issue. So those are things as well. And you have to find the balance between, all right, shoot, I need to make time to call that brother back. I need to make time to call that sister back. Hey, I got to follow up with them. Hey, I got to meet with them. But it's one of those things you're trying to make sure all these things are being tended to adequately. But then it's also understanding, just because even if you have, more leaders, doesn't necessarily mean they're all adequate in that regard. Some are not adequate in those regards. Some aren't good counselors. Some aren't necessarily good teachers. Some aren't necessarily good at being able to articulate or explain certain things. So some people, they're just good at this, or maybe at that part. So you can have that. So there's a difference. So you have to just keep that in mind. So now, but some people, if you let them down, that's it. And there's not always, every situation isn't always easily able to be rectified. Some are, but other things could be more grave. Now, the next thing you have to also understand is that everything you do is under the microscope. Everything you say and do is being analyzed, being taken in, dissected, trisected, you name it.
and being regurgitated. It's, man, you have to really understand that. And if you don't, then because other people watching your words more carefully than what you are. I mean, remember, even others, even just with the Pharisees and Sadducees, they're right watching Christ's word just to see if they can entangle him in his speech. They can catch you up on something you said and use it against you. Some people are looking, not everyone has your best interest. Some people, even as a leader, some people are looking for your downfall. Some people are looking to try to get you caught up, to have some type of accusation against you. So some people looking to see you fall for various reasons. Some because they envy you, they want to be in your position, but some people they need you to fall so they can get there, or so that they can make their petition after that. See, this is exactly why he shouldn't be here. We need someone else, probably me. So, I mean, I'm just saying. Nah, you got ulterior motive. Some have ulterior motives. That's the case. You know, some others, they're not gonna have your best interest because some they feel like if the finger's always pointing at them, it's always damn what they're not doing. You're always pointing the finger at them. And even if you're not trying to pick on them or demean them any sort of way, but they just don't like that, damn, it's always getting poked, always me. Eventually I'm get him. So they be looking to find whatever dirt they can on you so they can finally start pointing them fingers the other way. See, aha. They be, some of them, they find ammo and they be loading that gun. I got that one in there in the barrel. I'm gonna get that one too. Oh yeah, let me get this one too. So next time you come and I'm gonna be ready for them. Hey man, so yeah man, what about this? Boom, and you was doing it. Boom, they ready to take you out. So when and again, because they feel it's not fair, they feel it unjust, they feel like they always under the spotlight, getting pinned. They ready for you to be under the spotlight. So you always uh, 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 telling them something, they ready to tell you something. So they always feel like you're putting them in their place. They're ready to put you in your place. Some that are like that, when it shouldn't be like that. A leader shouldn't create that type of environment. Some do. Some do create that environment because it's not about trying to put you on blast or make a fool out of you. The goal is to help you be better and do better. As I myself am also working to be better and do better. But I have to fight that much harder, as Paul and Peter say, I have to keep my own flesh and mind under subjection, lest after I preached all these things, unto you, I myself be a castaway. I have to fight to make sure I don't do that, because else in my downfall, I may bring others with me. Even just on the demoralizing aspect, the loss of morality, because you have other people. Think about it. They see strength from you, guidance, leadership, power, so on and so forth, that if they see you fall or succumb to this, then they can feel like, well, dang, if I know how strong this brother or person was in this regard, that, dang, if they fail to that, what can I say about me? How much more will I fall prey? They can lose hope or lose faith just like that. It can happen. You know, so and those things can happen. You just have to be aware. So and understand just how vital that is. And sometimes it's okay to say, hey, I might need to take a step back to take a step forward, or maintain course here before taking and abounding in that area or that degree. Because yeah, you don't have to be a man of reputation to do the works of a teacher or an evangelist. You ain't gotta be a man of right to hit the streets or teach behind the table. But it's understanding that at higher levels, more is going to be required of you. So, and if you're not in a space where you've overcome certain things or you're able to maintain, then it's best to, deal with that at them lower levels first. And then, when the time is right, I've gotten better. I've mastered more of myself or my situation to be able to, be in this position. It may take that. Let me get my kids in order a little more first. Let me get my spouse in order a little more first. Let me get myself in order a little more first. That's wise, because less people start looking all in my life, and I'm offending left and right. And there's some things that legitimately, that, yeah, those things can be considered or deemed offensive, you know. And now I'm in a place where I begin to let the Most High down or fail the Most High, or I start bringing more severe judgments toward me, because as a leader, this is unacceptable. Yeah, maybe at this level, yeah, they let it slide, but not at this level, not acceptable. So, and you start getting hit with more judgments as a result of the things that you're failing to do righteously, or things you're not supposed to be doing that you're doing. So you have to be in that situation where you your job is to perform, you know. Your job is to perform. Else, why are you leading? You can do these things without being in that position. You're in that position to God. It's like, what good is a dog that don't bark or bite? What good is it? You got a guard dog, but it don't bark at signs of trouble. And when something is there, when the time comes, it ain't got no bite. That a good guard dog? No. Now there's a difference. Now if I got it just to look cute, can it just still look cute back there? Yeah, it still look cute. But now if I got it for the purpose to guard or protect or defend, then it ain't gonna do too good in that regard. So, hey, you have ears to hear, let him hear, because, or she, because understanding that the whole purpose is to guide others and be an example, be a living, breathing example, so that one sees, what should a deacon look like? Oh, they could look to you, yeah. Talk to that man. You see how he move? Cool. What does a deacon's wife look like? They should go to any of the deacons, look at his wife. That's what they should be able to do. Now, can they do that with you and yours? Same with the bishop. How should a bishop move? They should be able to look at you. How should a bishop's wife move and things? They should be able to go to the bishop's wife and see that example. See a reflection of a Proverbs 31 woman. They should be able to see that. How should, bishop's kids be? They should be able to go to bishop's kids and see how kids in the truth should be. They should be able to see that. Because you're the example from top to bottom. Your life is the example. Because the same principles and things you're teaching to the body, all the more should be going on in your household. That's the truth. Like it, love it, or hate it. That's the card. That's the hand that's dealt. And you have to realize that. You have to wake up and smell the coffee of, dang, I really have to eat, live, breathe, digest, see all of this on a whole different level. On a whole different level. And if that's something you're unwilling to do, then you have to reassess where you need to be, where you should be. So, because the Most High is calling you to he's putting you there, it's required, it's mandatory. All this, it comes with it. But if you just gonna put yourself there, you just gonna up jump the boogie and, all right, I'm gonna be here. And, all right, get yourself done up. So, because like I said, that you're gonna receive the greater punishment. It's not a beauty pageant. It's not a, hey, let me just, all right, give a couple of good lessons and smile for the people, wave, and just get some people. Oh yeah, that's right. The apostle, deacon, cap, bishop. Got some people feeling good, about you for a few months, few years. No, it's they know whether the camera's rolling or if it's off, on scene, behind scenes. I'm the same person, and that person is righteous. Whether they see me at the movie theater, theme park, grocery store, wherever it is, I'm righteous. I'm still moving and applying this. The game ain't switching or changing up. I'm not a weekend warrior. It ain't I live whatever lifestyle I want during the week and then, all right, here comes the Saturday. Let me get myself together, put on a good outfit, and all right, got my fringes on, got Kwame Yasharala on me. Kwame Yasharala. All right, so we could, see about Kwame Yasharala, Shalom. That put on a good show for you. No, that's not what it's about. But some people, they move like that. They take it like that. So let's get Second Thessalonians chapter 3, 7 through 10. So now, the other thing keep in mind, because with leaders performance, you can't be someone as a leader when fingers pointed at you, you're like, well, what about them? No, it don't work like that. You pointing fingers, it's like a Measures Day. Every time they point the finger at you, you trying to point it back, you're always the one that's gonna come up short because you're the leader. That's just the reality. You're always gonna come. Never as a leader, you gonna come off top. The finger pointing, you point them back. Unless people just wicked. Unless you have to be just dealing with wickedness at that point to be justified. But if the fingers are pointing at you because of stuff you're not doing, like, it can't be a situation where I'm getting on Congress, they late, but then they getting on me for being late. I'm like, well, you late too. It doesn't work that way because who's supposed to set the standard? I am, or whoever that leader are. You're supposed to set the standard. So if you're late all the time, what are you going to expect from the people? They're going to be late all the time. And they rightfully point fingers at you. Well, because the reality is, well, I mean, it's like if class start at 7:30, but people averagely show up at 7:40, 7:45. And you try to say, hey, why y'all be showing up, 7:45? Because you don't start the class till like 7:50. Then it's fair enough. I understand. So then that way, if I'm the problem, it begins at me. The problem solution begins at me. Okay. If I'm starting class this, then I have to make sure I change my behavior. I set the standard through my actions that, okay, we need to start 7:30 on the dot. So, and start making it to where, okay, even if it's incremental, even if I can't just cold turkey, something you can't always cold turkey. All right, you know what? 7:50, let me gradually build. All right, next time let's start 7:45. All right, then next week, all right, let's get 7:40. All right, next one, all right, 7:35. All right, let's get that. We might be stuck there for a minute. It may be the best we can do for a minute. But at least it's better than 7:50 where we was at. So we made progress over time. So just little by little, seeing what I need to do to make sure that this is being executed right. You have that. Some things you just need to take a whole new approach. Sometimes Friday can't even be your day of preparation. You might have to start Thursday. I need to start Thursday so that I'm ready Friday because I've been starting Friday. So I need to move a day earlier. So which really Thursday sundown to Friday sundown is the preparations. Then Friday sundown to Saturday sundown is the Sabbath. You might need to prepare earlier to make sure that you're as ready as what it is you need to be. Let's get 2 Thessalonians. Let's go there. 2 Thessalonians, and we're going to get chapter 3, and we're going to read verse 7 through 10. 2 Thessalonians chapter 3 and verse 7. For actually, I'll start at verse 6. I'll start at verse 6. So now we command you, brethren, because as leaders, you have the ability to give commands. That if you're under that person's direction or leadership, generally follow, as long as it's not anything that is wicked. And if there's a problem, let it be known, hey, this is the problem with this. But if it's good, go with it, because they're trying to set order. They're trying to set up leadership and government. So be mindful of that. Now we command you, brethren, in the name of our Lord, Hamashiach Yahushai, that ye withdraw yourselves from every brother or sister that walketh disorderly, and not after the tradition which ye received of us. That's wisdom. Now some may say, well, I'm my own man, I'm my own man. How you gonna tell me not to do that? You don't want to be like, don't do that. Because the Most High, he's setting up leadership. And you chose to submit yourself to these leaders in this congregation when you chose to fellowship with them and become a member. So it's also understand that the Most High honors that order and authority, because they're not telling you anything that's wicked, that's bad, and they're telling you something that's good for a reason. Be mindful. You want to be wise to respect that. And there's a problem, go follow the chain of command, go to the right individual and talk about it. Because the key is, it didn't just say, there's a difference between someone saying withdraw yourself from those that walk disorderly versus, nah, if they ain't with us, don't talk to them. There's a difference, So, but this is letting you know those who, and it says every brother, anyone, whether they hear it elsewhere, you see that they walk disorder. They're not moving in righteousness, and they're supposed to be claiming righteousness. Then what? I'm not finna be all up under you. I'm not finna be calling you all the time. I'm not finna be fellowshipping with you all the time, all at your house or going all out to dinner, if you're not moving righteously and your pattern is showing that of lukewarm. No, I'm going to try to work with you to see if I can influence you to be righteous. But when I see that you're a scorner, or you're someone who you're not trying to allow yourself to be reproved, you're not trying to make sincere changes, then now I have to understand that, okay, I've worked with this person for, depending on how close or how distant, some months or a year, a couple years. I see that there's no change, or that you're getting worse. I have to withdraw. I can't be all up under you. Certain people, you start extending that spoon. I can't be all up under you all the time. Now, long handle spoon. I gotta create some distance. And then with certain things, after a while, okay, I see with this person, that person I have to cut off. This person I'm still doing with the long handle spoon, but this person we can be close. So, because otherwise, if they're moving a certain way, you're gonna start being influenced, because it's either you're influencing them or they're influencing you. And you can easily get caught up in some foolishness they're doing, or be guilty by association. People tell you that if this person is moving this way, then they can tell you, you always with them, you probably moving the same way. Because why are you so close to someone that's associated with this type of activity? But yet you say you're not in the same boat. But y'all always together. Makes it hard to believe, right? So you have that. So now, moving on. Verse 7. For yourselves know how ye ought to follow us. For we behave not ourselves disorderly among you. That was the case. We wasn't moving just any kind of way with you. We was moving it, or we were showing you, we were being an example. You got to be that example. We were being those examples. So we're not telling you something that we're not doing. That's the way it should be, or that we haven't done. I'm not doing that. I'm telling you what it is I am doing or I have done. So that's good to do. Verse 8, neither did we eat any man's bread for naught, but wrought with labor and travail night and day, that we not be chargeable to any of you. And understanding that we weren't in a space, even though you have some leaders in this day and age that are worthy to be in a space where they don't have to work a 9-to-5 job, so to speak, and you have others, friends, family, congregants, that help to put them in a position where they have more time to focus on the ministry. You have some that are definitely deserving of that have, done things to earn that. But yet, many are in a space where no, I still choose to work in that regard, and things that, even though, yeah, you can just do something just off the strength of my position. Oh, that's a positive. Yeah, look out, give him that third and third. Oh, yeah, that's Deacon, give him that there and the third. But no. So that way I'm not, things don't come back to bite me later. So, because then you have people just as quick as some can be willing to give, they can be that much more offended if you fall short. And so if you mess up, they that much more offended. Man, I didn't sacrifice time to try to help this person business, and they over here, man, they not even using time wisely. Hey, you have that. You laugh now, cry later. So, there's people giving, you know, giving their hard-earned money to try to help you personally, but then on a personal level, you're not even doing right by those things. You're abusing those things. Then that causes distrust. Then you got people, never again, because he wasn't right. He didn't do this, so that's why I don't trust man. Can't put my faith in man. So that's what happens. So it's not. I don't want to be in a space where people feel as if I'm not carrying my weight. If more so, I'm that much more of the example, because it builds your faith to know that, yeah, I do all of this. I write articles. I make flyers for social media pages. Yeah, I still make lessons and teach. Hey, twice a week in that regard. Yeah, I still counsel, still talk to brothers and sisters, and I still work a 9 to 5, so to speak, just like you. Plus overtime. So that builds people's faith more, and still I have to spend time with my family, my wife, my kids. Those things are all necessary to keep those relationships alive. So you see, and that should inspire more. That, dang, if that person doing all that, I'm over here just complaining about this, and I ain't even doing none of them things. So, all right, let me get it together. I can be doing more. It builds that. It's a help. You help others build in that regard. Versus think about if it's the opposite. You were, I don't do nothing, so I just do the ministry. And people like, yeah, you deserve they do the ministry, but they can feel like, well, shoot, ain't doing none of these things. Yeah, he got time to do that. That's all he got to do. So people start siding, they can start feeling a certain way, especially if it's coming out of their pocket. They're contributing to that financial gain in status and situation. You don't want that. That's part of what they mean being charged. People find any little reason or thing to try to hold against you. So it'll be a laugh now, cry later. Yeah, it was good the first few months. Yeah, first couple years, but then started going sour. Started having a problem. Then they start watching things with different intentions. Look at him. It's Tuesday. He over there at Disneyland with the family. Must be nice. So they people start looking at all sorts of ways. You may not have taken a vacation in 3 years, but that's all they see. Look at him. Must be nice. Yeah, look at him. Going out to dinner with the family. Must be nice. I'm working. People start feeling some type of way. Offenses. You don't want that. Let's continue on. Verse 9, this is not because we have not power. Again, not because we're not deserving or have a position where we could ask of those things. Like it says, but to make ourselves an example unto you to follow us. That's the thing, making ourselves an example. Certain things doing, not because this is just, what I want to do, but no, I have to fight to be an example. So in all things. Verse 10, for even when we were with you, this we commanded you, that if any would not work, neither should he eat. Got to work, got to put in the work. It wasn't just a situation where we just trying to freeload. No. Even if I'm over there at somebody's home and I'm visiting or something, what can I do to help? If you cook, let me wash the dishes. Let me at least take out the trash. Let me do something. So that way, I'm not creating a culture where you feel like you always supposed to be catering to me. Like Christ said, man, I'm supposed to be the biggest servant. I'm here to serve you. That's the thing is being a leader. I'm in greater service. That and I have to show that. I have to show that I'm in a greater service. All the more humble I should be. Not in a place, oh yeah, you should give me, yeah, I deserve that. Yeah, 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 I'll take that. But nah, everything is like, man, I greatly appreciate that, and what can I do for you? And I'm always trying to take care of your needs, even at sometimes the sacrifice of my own, to and within reason and wisdom, but yeah, to try to make sure that these things are taken care of. So yeah, I would much rather choose to do this, but right now I need to do this for the benefit of the body or this individual. So let's get 2 Thessalonians 1:1. Get the book of 2 Thessalonians chapter 1 and verse 1. Paul and Silvanus and Timotheus unto the church of the Thessalonians, and God our Father, and the Lord Amashiach Yahushai. So this was what Paul, we know as an apostle, was an apostle. And Timotheus, who we find in the scriptures, was a bishop set over a sister branch of their organization as the first bishop of the church of the Ephesians. So we find that Paul, he was grooming them, preparing them, getting ready. But Paul made sure to move in a certain way as an apostle to ensure that people couldn't charge any of them for moving in a way that was not wise, let alone righteous. So, because the easy thing, people become offended, begin to blame or accuse one of something, that in turn it's going to hurt both you and the ministry. Because when you mess up, it's not just going to be, oh, yeah, that was, you know, Brother Todd, there. It's like, nah, it's going to be them brothers of sound faith, That's how they do. On charge, whatever you do with the whole thing. Even some, let one of the leaders' wives do it. Oh yeah, see the deacons' wives, yeah, the bishop's wives. That's how you all inherit a bad name. That's all it takes. And for some people, that's all they're looking for. Just give them a reason. Let's get James 3:1-3. Let's go back to the book of James. Let's get James chapter 3. We're going to read verse 1-3. So this is, my brethren, be not many masters, knowing that we shall receive the greater condemnation. For in many things we offend all. If any man offend not in word, the same is a perfect man, and able also to bridle the whole body. 3, behold, we put bits in the horses' mouths. Now that's one of the things I want to highlight. We put bits in the horses in the horses' mouths, okay, that they may obey us, and we turn about their whole body. So what's that again? Understanding that leadership, we put as a leader, similar to a person on horseback, you have power through your words and actions to turn about the body as you see fit and the members within. So this is done through your example and your lessons, your counsel, the things you say and do. All these things. You could tell someone something to save their life or destroy it, just depending on what you say and how you say it, how you come off. So you could say or do anything to get them closer to salvation or further away from it. This is just the power of a leader. This is just the power of a leader that you have. There are people, they were willing to give you their all just off the strength of you are a leader. And you're a leader that seems to have some respect, have some authority, have a minute, have some thing going on. Okay, all right. Or some, don't let it be you bigger. Man, you got this many followers. They following you, then I might as well. Must be doing something right. That's how some people figure. So they throw their whole lives, at you. And that's a lot of power. That's why James says what he says. All it's possible for anyone to do. The leader is the one in a primary position to do it. So come with the territory and job description. When you're a leader, you're naturally going to have followers. That's just the reality. So, shoot. Off top, it's you have just your household, usually, and then you're building from there. So you're gonna have people that follow you. So, but are you still being mindful to be someone who's worthy to be followed? So that you have the love of the body, you have the support. So, but the goal isn't to have many in that position, but a few to get the job done effectively. That's the thing. You don't necessarily need, to have all these bishops. You don't necessarily need to have all these deacons, all these apostles. Some of them you might only have one in each category, maybe two. That's okay. That's okay. You have an example there. Some is like, hey, the door is there, but when you're ready, when you believe in, and especially if others that can also, you want it to not just be you. You want others to also see that in you. That we also believe this person is ready and worthy to be in that position. We can see why it's a good choice for this person to be there because of how they move, how they operate, how they deal, how they speak. It's all going to be good. You want that. So that's a good thing. When you don't have that, it becomes iffy. You may not necessarily be as successful as what it is you need to be because you have people that don't have your backing. So, and that's a bad place to be in because it takes power away from you. And now remember, you can always elevate anybody. You can choose barely. It doesn't mean people are going to respect you or value you. And when you have people in that position that aren't respected or valued, guess what happened to the position? It becomes watered down. It becomes less honorable. Yeah, apostles come a dime a dozen, So yeah, deacons, bishops, they come a dime a dozen. Half them people ain't even, you can't even really listen to. Have them get bad counsels. They wives ain't even in play. Their own situation in order. So when you talking, they just really okay. Look at him. He just got to say something. Watch him. He just got to say something. He got to try to make himself relevant. So, yeah. No, you just better off being quiet. So, you don't want people feeling like that about you. You want people ready, like, hey, he speaking, man. It's like I want a pen and a notebook, bro. Like for real, like, everything this person talking about because it's like, man, they got dropping jewels every time they speak. It might just be a sentence. Man, trying to soak up everything like a sponge. This brother talking about, shooting his white man on point. Man, I went over there. It was like, anything that brother asked that woman to do, she on it. No complaints, no problems. It's like, man, she moving order. And then he don't talk to her crazy either. It don't matter, man. I mean, we was up to 1:00 at night. He said, man, babe, you mind making some steak tacos for us? And, she was like, okay, she got up and she was dressed mild. She came in there, hey, she had the whole spread, hour later, she was done. Shoot, she right there, we cleaned up and went right off back to bed. I mean, dang. I said, man, that's man, talk about wife material. He said, man, I get a wife. I hope I get someone like that. Hope I get someone like on the caliber wife that the bishop got, man. You find a woman that's a Proverbs 31 woman. You want that. You want that type of situation. Not a situation like, man, I was at Deacon's house, man, and man, it was 10:00. She came in there, yelling up a storm, and what y'all still doing here? It's late, don't y'all got home? Y'all got families, Why y'all still at my house? She over there, she started unplugging stuff. I was like, man, yeah, man, I ain't come over here no more. It's just, no sir, I just gotta tell you, hey, next time you just go in my place. I tell you, man, you just go in my place. I'll make sure you leave by 9. No, your wife get, you gotta be home by a certain. He got a bedtime, So you don't want that to be the situation. That becomes embarrassing, So, and at least, hopefully, you guys only got the common decency. Even if I am, offended, I at least have enough respect, and decency to, all right, I understand the situation, you know, read through them enough to be able to say, okay, you know, even though this is going on a little longer than what I would personally have or feel comfortable with, I understand it's good. And, this is a time to bond, build, have the camaraderie, and fellowship. So I'll make sure, I try to support, my husband in that because I understand he's a man of authority, and I don't want to embarrass him or our household, and then any discrepancy I can talk, on the backside. That's again using some wisdom, you know, being a Proverb 31, woman. I may not necessarily, I don't have to be, Miss Susie Handmaid and, you know, everything and just, yes, my Lord, how may I help you? I don't necessarily do that, but, use some wisdom. Okay, use some wisdom. Let's get Ecclesiastes chapter 8 and verse 9. So let's get the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 8 and verse 9. The book of Ecclesiastes chapter 8 and verse 9 says, all this have I seen and applied my heart unto every work that is done under the sun. There is a time wherein one man ruleth over another to his own hurt. You have that, unfortunately, many times. You don't want to be one of the ones that, yeah, you leading, but it's only going to be a hurt to you. Only be a matter of time before you mess it up. Because it was already perceived and seen that that's how you move. That it ain't no way. Ain't no way he finna operate for years in this position. Know how you get down. Know your shortcomings. Know your weaknesses. Yeah, know your strength too. Or seen enough to know that, okay, yeah, that's going to get you. Maybe not day one, week one, month one, but year one, year two, that's going to get you. Because you haven't yet shown fruit that others have seen or the things that I've seen that to show otherwise. And so you're taking that with you to that position. You haven't yet shown fruit worthy to say that sincerely you've repented of that. I don't hope you fail or fall, but more than likely there's a high chance that you're going to fall susceptible one of these things because that's the spirit you carry. That's how you move. So it's only going to end up hurting you. That much more of an embarrassment and a letdown. Because some will only do worse in that position, not better. Only worse. They go occupy the space for a time, but they end up hurting themselves and possibly others. Even if it's not in their intentions, they just haven't learned how to operate successfully in some of those ways to have success in that position. They just might not be ready. So, and you have to the way, even if they are groomed and taught, that doesn't mean they're in a space where they're applying. Some can have all the knowledge needed, have all the information, but still haven't put everything in a place to be able to move accordingly. I mean, think about it. Some people, hey, even some you could read Proverbs 31 every day and still not fulfill half of how it says to be or how to move. You haven't yet learned to apply it or to move in that way. Same with brothers, leaders. That, man, a lot of things that says be and lead just haven't learned, haven't gotten it in a spirit. But it's like, man, you may not necessarily be in the most stable situation, your household to be in that regard. That just may be the case. So I may not be able to lead effectively, but if you choose to be in that situation, and sometimes it's that I can lead, I myself as an individual, I can do these things, but spouse is just all messed up. No, I can't. That's part of the foundation. I gotta choose to be in this level. I can't rise up to that next bar yet. I have to stay right here until that gets in order. Sometimes that's even all the more if you're shooting for leader. Be mindful who you choose to take on as a spouse, because then you chose that person, and that person is a reflection of you, and that reflection may be ugly, but now it's gonna make you look ugly, gonna make the position look ugly, make the congregation look ugly. It becomes a domino effect. So you have to, be mindful who you're taking on. You can't just take on anybody. That was the whole point of what the Most High was even showing Adam. You can't just be with any woman. And even with the right woman, it ain't necessarily gonna be peachy perfect. Sometimes people get that twist. It ain't necessarily you finally found the right person and all of a sudden everything just gonna be smooth all the time. No, that's not the way it works. So you can't think about it that I'm just gonna be omit the problems. No, problems will be there. But what you're doing is I'm trying to make sure I diminish them. Can't eliminate, but I can diminish. I can reduce. They say what? Reduce, reuse, recycle. I can reduce a lot of the stuff by choosing better and getting someone and seeing that, okay, will this person help elevate me more in my position? Will they help add to me? Will I help add to them? Can't just be a one-way street. Can't. Or it's not going to be successful. It has to be something that is built off of interdependency. You see what I have and I bring to the table. I see what you have and you bring to the table. If we come together, we could be that much better. We're both up here. We come together. Oh, we'll rise up here. Hey, like the cream of the crop, we rising to the top. That's it. We rising. We ain't rose yet. We ain't up there, but we coming up slowly but surely. That's the way you want it to be. So, and sometimes situation where you could have mastered one level in your life, but then the next level, next stage, you're not yet ready. You could have been great in your 20s, single. But then you get married, have kids. You get married and then in your 30s, because of who you with, it be all jacked up. Or now you didn't have kids, even when your kids little, things are all right, but they start getting older and you're not doing certain things in balance or the way you should at home, that now your kids start getting messed up. They not moving right. And you be in a situation like with Eli. Like Eli, he groomed Samuel. Eli, he was man of God, but his kids was wicked. Samuel, same thing. Samuel saying the man of God, hey, he moved right, but his kids was wicked. Imagine that. You got leaders, great leaders, heck of a leader, hell of a leader, as they say. But yet and still, your kid's the opposite. It hurts the minute, hurts the movement. Because like, dang, you got all this greatness, and then it's like, dang, I thought they said the apple don't fall far from the tree, but y'all, you would have thought came under a whole different tree. I might add, like, man, you sure these your kids? Them? And a couple of them kind of look like you, but dang, these your kids. Yeah, you might as well not even, better yet, not to even have any. And the scripture even tell you that. It's better to have virtue and have a virtuous spouse than to have multitude of kids, but most ain't amount to nothing. And far from righteousness. You don't want that. You don't want that. So you don't want that. Or some and other things. You over here chasing wives, but most of them ain't worth nothing. You got quantity, but quality is far out of the picture. Far out of the picture. Better for you than trading all the while. You had a few righteous kids that you could have tended to and groom up right. Or you just got that one, but that one is solid. That's the difference. So you want that. But let's see. I'm in this. So, and of course that like I mentioned earlier, that 1 Corinthians 9:27. That's, you can write that one down. That's, but I keep under my body and bring it into subjection, lest by any means, when I have preached to others, I myself should be a castaway. You got to make sure you're living, preaching, moving accordingly, being that example. Otherwise, if you're not, if you live in a double life, it's going to catch up to you. It's only going to be a matter of time. Whether it's a day, a week, a month, a year, or 10 years down the road, it's going to catch up to you. So eventually it's going to be no. And then even before it fully all unravels, it's going to slowly be a buildup. And you're going to lose more people on the wayside because they're seeing it. They looking through and seeing all the dirt. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of stuff. And they going to exit stage left. So you're going to have that. So let me get 1 Corinthians 3 and 10. Get that one. We'll go to that one. 1 Corinthians 3 and 10. Short on time, so I'm trying to skip over some things and, get some of the good stuff. Get 1 Corinthians 3 and 10. Book of 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 10. So, according to the grace of God, which is given unto me as a wise master builder. That's really when you're ready for when you're a wise master builder. You know how to put these things, how these things operate. Now, it can take some years, but take the time to learn. In order to lead and to be a good leader, you would have had to have followed someone and have been a good follower. Some people don't want to follow nobody. You're ready to lead everybody. It doesn't work that way. You're not even looking to be a good follower. You just all right, but you hope I'm gonna be a great leader now. It doesn't work that way. So you would have had to have been up under somebody for some time. In learning, being able to be a wise master builder, to see how to put these things, how to deal, how to talk to people, how to kind of like all those things in training, being groomed, and putting yourself in a space to be able to have that. It takes time. Like it says, I have laid the foundation. That's how you have to know how to lay the foundation. How to do that. Did you learn that? So that way you know how to do that. He says, I have laid the foundation. And another build it their own. Because, hey, you're going to have people come behind you. They're going to build their own. And sometimes you might be the one who is now that one building their own. Someone else laid the foundation. Now you building upon it. So, but it says, but let every man take heed how he buildeth thereupon. You got to make sure you're mindful of how you taking that torch and running with it. Or now you have some power. Now you have some authority. Or now you've entered into your own thing. But how are you building it? Because if you're not mindful, it's all going to fall apart and crumble. And you're going to be right back at square one. Because it wasn't built the way that it should have been. How you execute everything. It doesn't matter. Departments, doctrines, classes, from how you deal from respective homes, camp, like everything. Everything is going to matter. So, and I pray you take the time to assess yourself and see what your strengths, weaknesses are, and then, see if you're apt to lead in a higher capacity. And then evaluate your household. Is your wife and her children ready? Do you need 6 months, maybe a year, to get a few things in order? It would be wiser to button up those loose ends first. So you don't have to be, the most economically, great or, sound position, but you have to be spiritually and mentally stable. So you want to be there, both you and your spouse in your family, and ensure your leadership team is the same. Those working with you, make sure they're in a good space. And somebody may say, like, hey, man, you got to just take, a few months, get your situation together. Sometimes it might be a week, sometimes it might be a month, sometimes it might be a couple months, few months. So it might be a year to, hey, get these things in order. You can still help, but at a lower level, and then when these things are in order, then, all right, come back and lead in a greater capacity. And read another one you can also read is 1 Timothy 3, 8 through 14. So you don't want to be, someone that you're one of those who on the wicked side, you're multiplying, you're doing things, but not in the way the Most High approves. You know, you don't want that. So, but I pray you got something, out of this lesson and got some understanding, to help you be better and do better. Again, if you like the videos, like, share, subscribe. If you want to help with the ministry after the Sabbath, you can give alms, things to our website. Those things are available, at www.soundfaithministries.org if you so choose. But the main thing, like I said, ain't about us. It's about the Most High and gather more people to Him. So with that, pray everything well. Seen, receive, got learn something, get something new today. But